Next question is, what is the ego? Your survival mechanism is not the only factor affecting your emotions. Your ego is also plays a major role in shaping the way you feel. Thus, to gain more control over your emotions, it is fundamental you understand what your ego is and how it works. Now, let's clarity what we mean by ego. We often say of someone he has a big ego, referring to the ego as a something close to pride. While pride is certainly a manifestation of ego, that's only a part of it. You may show no pride and appear humble while still being controlled by your emotion. So, what is the ego? The ego refers to the self identity you have constructed throughout your life. How was that identity created? Put simply, the ego was created through your thoughts, and your mind created identity and has no concrete reality. Events that happen to bear and no meaning themselves, you give them meaning only through your interpretations of those events. Additionally, you accept things about yourself because people told you to do so. What's a more you identity with your name, your age, your religion, your political belief on our occupation in similar way. This attachment has a consequences as we will see later in this book. Attachment creates and beliefs, and these beliefs lead you to experience certain emotion. For instance, you may become offended when people criticize your religion or attack your political principles. Note that throughout this book, we will refer to the ego as your story or your identity using these words interchangeably. Are you aware of your ego? Your understanding of the way your ego works depends on your level or self awareness. People at the lowest level of consciousness are not even aware the ego exists and result are enslaved by it. On the other hand, highly self-conscious people can see through their ego. They understand how belief works and how excessive attachment to the set of belief and can create suffering in their life. In effect, these individuals become the master of their mind and are the peace with themselves. Note that ego is neither good or nor bad. It's just a result of lack of self-awareness. It fades away as you become aware of it, since ego and awareness cannot coexist. Your ego's need for an identity. Your ego is a selfish entity only concerned about its own survival. Interestingly, it is rather similar to your brain in the way it operates. It has its own survival mechanism and it will do whatever it can to persist. As with your brain, its primary concern is neither your happiness and nor your peace of mind. On the contrary, your ego is restless. It wants to be a go-getter. It wants to you do have and achieve great things so you can become somebody. As we already mentioned, your ego needs an identity to exist the way it does that through identification with things, people, and beliefs and ideas. Now, let's look at some of the things your ego identifies with the strength. Strength is identity. Physical items, the ego like to identity with physical things. Needles to say it thrives in today's world. Perhaps we can say capitalism and the consumer society we are living in today is the creations of collective egos, which is why it has been a dominant economic model in the recent decades. Marketers perfectly understand people's need to identify the things, and they know the people don't just buy a product, they also buy the emotion or story attached to the product. Often you buy certain clothes and particular car because you want to tell story about yourself. For instance, you may want to enhance your status, look cool, and express your unique personality, and choose the product most closely associated with these ideals. This is how the ego works. It is uses things to create your story you can identify with. It doesn't mean things are wrong, but see, it's negative issue only when you become overly attached to the things, believing they can fulfill you, which they can't. Your body. Most people derive their self-worth from their physical appearance. Your ego loves the way you look because it is easiest thing to recognize and quantify. When you strongly associate with your physical appearance, you tend to identify more easily with physical and emotional pain. Believe it or not, you can observe your body without identify with it. Friends and acquaint yes friends Friends and acquaintances. The ego also derive its sense of identity from your relationship with others. The ego is the only interested in what it can get from others. In other words, the ego thrives on the way it can use people to strengthen its identify. If you are honest with yourself, you will realize most of the things you do are attempts to obtain approval of others. You want your parents to be proud of you, and your boss to respect you, and your wife to love you. Now let's see in more detail how the ego works in the following cases. Parent child relationship. Some parents' egos leads to creations of strong sense of attachment and identifications with their children. This is based on the false belief their children are the possession possessions. Okay. As a result, they try to control their children's lives and use them to life they wanted to live and when they were younger. This is called living vicariously and through your children. You see this all the time. Next time you want to junior soccer or baseball game, watch the parents on a touch line to see how some react. Try spotting the parents living vicariously and they are the ones screaming the loudest and not simply encouragement. These may happen largely unconsciously. Couples, the feeling of needing someone is very much a play of the ego as well. Anthony de Mello has beautiful way to put it when he says loneliness is not cured by human company. Loneliness is cured by contact with reality, by understanding that we don't need people. Anthony de Mello. Once you realize you don't actually need anyone, you can start enjoying people's company. You can see them as they really are rather than trying to get something from them. Your beliefs. Your ego also use belief to strengthen its identity. In extreme cases, people become so attached to their belief they are ready to die to protect them. Worse still, they are willing to kill people who disagree with them. Religion is a perfect illustration of the dangers of excessive attachment to belief. The ego will use any belief or strengthen its identity, whether this belief and religious, political, and metaphysical. Other object of identification. Now let's have a look at the non-exhaustive list of things your ego generally derive its identity from. Your body, your name, your gender, nationality, culture, your family, friends, your belief, that is your political beliefs, religious, etc. Your personal story, your interpretations of the past, your expectation regarding the future, your problems like illness, financial situation, victim mindset, etc. Your age, your job, your social status, your role as an employer, employee, homemaker, parental status, employment status, etc. Marital items, your house, car, clothes, phone, etc. And your desires. The ego's main characteristics. Here are some main characteristics of ego. The ego tends to equate having with being, which is why the ego to identify with object. The ego life through comparisons. Your ego compare itself with other egos. The ego is never satisfied. Your ego is always wants to more fame, more stuff, more recognition, and so on. The ego's sense of self-worth often depends on the worth you have in the eyes of others. Your ego needs the approval of the people to feel value. The ego needs to feel superior. Your ego wants to feel superior to the other egos. It wants to stand out and needs to create artificial separations. To do that, here are some stratagems it employs. Enhancing its value through people. If you have smart, famous friends, your ego will associate it with them to strengthen its identity. This is why some people love to tell others how smart, rich, or famous their friends are. Gossiping. People gossip because it makes them feel different and superior in some way. This is why some people like to put other people down and talk behind their back. It makes them and everybody else in their gossiping group feel superior, manifesting an inferiority complex. This hides a desire to be better than others. Yes, even in this case, people want to feel superior. Manifesting or superiority complex, this hides the fear of not being good enough. Looking for fame. These offer the illusions of superiority, which is why people often dream of becoming famous. Being right, the ego loves to be right. It a great way for it to affirms its existence. Have you noticed that everybody from Adolf Hitler to Nelson Mandela believe they are doing the right thing? Most people think they are correct, but can everybody be right? Complaining. When people complain, by definition, they believe they are right and others are wrong. It works with objects as well. Have you ever bumped into table and complained or even insulted? I have, and done table was wrong to be in my way, wasn't it? Seeking attention. The ego likes to stand out. It's love, recognition, praise, and admiration. To seek attention, people may also commit crimes, wear eccentric clothes, and or have tattoos all over their body. Your egos impact your emotion. Understanding the way your ego works can help you better control your emotion. To do this, you must first realize your current story is the result of strong identification with people, things, or ideas. This strong identification is the root of many of negative emotions you experience in your life. For instance, when life doesn't unfold according to your personal story, you get upset. Or when someone challenges one of your beliefs, you become defensive. In short, most of your emotions are based on your personal story and the way you perceive the world. As you replace your current story with more empowering one, while at the same time letting go of your excessive attachment to things, people, or ideas, you will be able to experience more positive emotions. Later in this book, we will see how you can change the way you interpret events. Action step. Take a few minutes to answer the quiz question workbook. Section 1. What are emotions? The nature of the ego. Thanks for watching video. Don't forget to subscribe my channel.